Welcome to our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh, yeah, classic.
It really shook things up in the world of personal finance.
Absolutely, yeah.
And today, let's unpack why it's been so influential.
Okay, sounds good.
I think one of the things that makes this book so interesting is Kiyosaki's personal story.
Yeah.
Growing up with these two father figures.
Right.
His own dad, who he calls Poor Dad, and his friend's dad, the Rich Dad.
Right, right.
And they both worked hard, obviously,
Yeah.
but had completely different mindsets about money.
Totally. Yeah.
And that's where things get really interesting, right? Because,
Yeah.
you'd think with a highly educated man like Kiyosaki's own father, he'd be the one who's financially secure.
Right.
But Kiyosaki argues that it was actually his friend's father, the high school dropout,
Yeah.
who understood the real secrets to wealth.
That's the big hook of the book.
Yeah.
It's like this counterintuitive idea. Like, the guy who you think would be successful is not, and the other guy is.
Exactly.
And that really grabs you.
And one of the, I think, most fundamental lessons that Rich Dad teaches is the difference between assets and liabilities.
Yes, core concept.
And this is where Kiyosaki really challenges conventional thinking.
Big time.
So let's break that down a little bit.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of people, myself included, you assume that owning a home, for example, is an asset.
Yeah, the classic American dream, right?
Yeah.
Own a house, white picket fence, the whole thing.
But Kiyosaki flips that on its head.
Yeah, he does. He says it can be a liability.
He argues that a house can actually be a giant liability.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you've got a mortgage, property taxes,
Maintenance, all that.
all taking money out of your pocket every month.
Exactly. It's all outflow.
So it's not about what you own.
Right.
It's about what's putting money in your pocket versus what's taking money OUT.
That's the key distinction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So an asset, according to Kiyosaki, is anything that generates income.
Exactly.
So that would be like rental properties, stocks that pay dividends,
Businesses,
a business that's bringing in profits.
Anything that's putting money in your pocket.
Okay. And a liability is anything that costs you money,
Yep.
like that fancy car,
Yeah, or the credit card bills.
credit card
That
bills,
shows,
yeah,
yeah.
student loans, all that.
This make me rethink some of my spending habits.
I know, right? Makes you look at things differently.
Suddenly that latte feels a lot less innocent.
Yeah, exactly.
So Kiyosaki also argues that, traditional education often fails to teach us these money management skills.
Yeah, that's a big point he makes.
We learn to work for money,
Right.
but not necessarily how to make money work for us.
Exactly. We're not taught financial literacy.
Right.
It's just not part of the standard curriculum.
And he calls this trap, the rat race, right?
Yes, the rat race. This endless cycle of working for a paycheck, spending most of it, and then working even harder just to keep up with expenses.
Yeah, like you're on a treadmill.
Yeah.
You're working hard, but you're not really getting ahead.
So how do we escape the rat race?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki has this model. He calls it the cash flow quadrant.
Okay.
And it breaks down the 4 main ways people earn income: employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor.
Okay.
And his argument is you want to move away from being an employee or self-employed
Right.
because that's where your income is directly tied to your time.
You're trading hours for dollars.
Exactly.
So financial freedom, according to Kiyosaki, comes from transitioning to the business owner and investor quadrants.
Exactly.
That's where you start generating passive income.
Yeah, the money that comes in even when you're not actively working.
Okay, so this is starting to paint a picture of the rich dad mindset,
Right.
which is be proactive, take risks, build assets that generate wealth.
Exactly. It's about creating a system that works for you.
And that's a stark contrast to the poor dad mindset, which, while it might be well-intentioned,
Yeah.
often prioritizes job security, avoids risk,
Right.
and then ultimately misses out on these opportunities for wealth creation.
It's playing it safe versus taking calculated risks.
One of the things that really struck me in the book was Kiyosaki's idea of working to learn, not just to earn.
Yeah, that's a powerful concept.
He talks about taking jobs early in his career, not just for the paycheck,
Right.
but for the skills and experience that they offered.
Yeah, he saw it as an investment in himself.
Yeah.
Even if the job wasn't glamorous or high-paying.
Right, right. Like he shares this anecdote about taking a sales job,
Right.
not because he needed the money, but because he wanted to master the art of selling.
Yeah, he knew that skill would be valuable in the long run,
Yeah.
regardless of what he ended up doing.
And those skills proved invaluable later on when he became an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
So it's almost like he's saying, don't just look at the immediate paycheck, but look at the long-term value
Yeah, the long game.
of the skills you're acquiring.
Invest in yourself.
And this all ties back to, like, the importance of being financially literate, right?
It's me.
Constantly seeking knowledge and challenging conventional wisdom.
Be a student of money.
Okay, so now we're getting to another part of the book that people often talk about.
Okay, which part is that?
Kiyosaki's insights into how the wealthy use the tax system to their advantage.
Ah, yes, the tax strategies.
Now, this is a part that sometimes gets people a little riled up
Yeah, it can be controversial.
because it seems like he's suggesting that there are these loopholes or secret strategies that only the rich know about.
Right, but it's not about loopholes or anything illegal.
Well, he's not advocating for tax evasion or anything illegal,
No, not at all.
but he does argue that the wealthy understand the tax code and use it strategically
Exactly.
to reduce their tax burden.
Right.
So he touches on, like, incorporating your business to take advantage of certain deductions,
Right. Using the structure of the system to your advantage.
using real estate depreciation to lower your taxable income.
Yeah, understanding the rules of the game.
And I think the key takeaway here is not that we should all become tax experts overnight,
No, not at all.
but rather that it's important to be aware
Yeah.
of the rules of the game
Right.
and to potentially seek, like, professional guidance
Yeah. Get advice from people who know the ins and outs.
to make sure you're doing things right.
Exactly.
This is all so fascinating. We've only just scratched the surface of Rich Dad, Poor Dad so far.
Yeah, we've just laid the groundwork.
I already feel like I'm seeing the world of money through a new lens.
That's the power of this book. It shifts your perspective.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Round 2.
We were just talking about, like, the power of financial literacy and how Rich Dad leverages the tax system.
Yeah, some pretty interesting stuff there.
Now let's shift gears a little bit and explore this concept of building passive income streams.
Okay, yeah, that's a big one.
This is where things get really exciting
Definitely.
because passive income is like the cornerstone of financial freedom.
It is, yeah.
It's about creating a system where money is flowing into your pocket even when you're not actively trading your time for it.
Exactly. Making money work for you.
It's like having your money work for you instead of the other way around.
That's the dream, right?
But how do we actually create these passive income streams?
Yeah, good question.
Because Rich Dad, Poor Dad seems to highlight real estate as, like, a favorite avenue.
Yeah, he's a big fan of real estate.
Kiyosaki views it as a powerful tool for building wealth
Right. He sees a lot of potential there.
because it offers multiple ways to generate income.
Exactly. You've got options.
You know, like, for example, you can purchase rental properties and collect rent from tenants each month.
Yeah, steady cash flow.
Or you can buy a property, hold on to it while it appreciates in value, and then sell it later for a profit.
Play the long game.
That sounds, like, appealing in theory.
It does, but it's not without its risks.
But, I mean, doesn't real estate also come with risks?
Oh, absolutely.
What if the housing market crashes?
Yeah.
Or you can't find reliable tenants?
Those are all valid concerns.
You know,
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from that.
Kiyosaki acknowledges those risks,
Yeah.
and he doesn't suggest, like, blindly jumping into the real estate market.
Right. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
He stresses the importance of, like, thorough research,
Yeah.
understanding market trends,
Yeah, doing your homework.
and making informed decisions.
Absolutely. It's about being strategic.
He even cautions against, like, becoming emotionally attached to properties
Yeah, you got to keep a level head.
and emphasizes the need for, like, a strategic mindset.
It's a business, not a hobby.
So it's not about getting lucky with real estate.
Well, not at all.
It's about approaching it with an investor's mindset,
Exactly.
doing your due diligence, weighing the potential risks and rewards.
Making calculated moves.
And that ties back to the Rich Dad philosophy of, like, continuous learning.
Yeah, always be growing.
He believes that knowledge is power.
Especially when it comes to finances.
So before diving into any investment,
Right.
especially something as significant as real estate,
Mm-hmm.
educate yourself, seek guidance from, like, experienced investors,
Find mentors. Learn from the best.
and always be prepared for the unexpected.
Yeah, things don't always go according to plan.
It sounds like Kiyosaki wouldn't be a fan of those, like, get-rich-quick schemes.
No, he's
Yeah.
all about building long-term wealth
Yeah.
through smart investments and strategic financial decisions.
Now, while real estate is like a major focus in Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki also mentions like other avenues for passive income.
He does. Yeah, he's got some other ideas.
What are some of those other options?
Sure.
Because I think, some people might be hesitant to dive into real estate.
Yeah, especially as a first step.
Especially as a first step,
Right.
he talks about the stock market,
Yeah, specifically dividend-paying stocks.
which can provide that like steady stream of income.
Yeah, a nice little bonus.
Bonds are another option.
Offering interest payments over time.
He also encourages readers to think about creating a business that can generate income without like requiring their constant involvement.
Yeah, building something that can run on autopilot.
That sounds like the ultimate dream,
It does, right?
building a business that essentially runs itself.
Financial freedom at its finest.
But that also sounds incredibly daunting.
It can be. Yeah, but he breaks it down.
Like, where do you even begin?
Right, he gives you a framework.
He emphasizes the importance of like developing an entrepreneurial mindset, identifying opportunities that solve problems,
Yeah, finding a need and filling it.
and creating systems that allow the business to operate efficiently, even when you're not like directly managing every detail.
Yeah, automating as much as possible.
So it's about working smarter, not harder,
Ex-
and leveraging systems and strategies to create income without, being constantly tied to the grind.
Yeah, breaking free from the 9 to 5.
This is all incredibly empowering.
It is, yeah.
But I'm sure some listeners might be thinking, okay, this all sounds great in theory,
Yeah, but where do I start?
but where do I even begin?
Right, it can be overwhelming.
That's a valid question.
Absolutely.
While Rich Dad, Poor Dad isn't like a step-by-step financial guide,
It's not a manual, no.
it offers some like valuable starting points.
It does, yeah.
First and foremost, Kiyosaki stresses the importance of educating yourself about personal finance.
Yeah, knowledge is key.
Read books, attend seminars,
Find mentors, learn from others.
find mentors who can guide you along the way.
Surround yourself with people who are financially savvy.
So it's about taking ownership of your financial literacy
Yes, be proactive.
and not just solely relying on like traditional education or conventional wisdom.
Yeah, think outside the box.
Because as Kiyosaki argues, sometimes that conventional wisdom can actually keep you stuck in the rat race.
Exactly. It's about challenging the status quo.
Once you have like a solid understanding of the fundamentals, Kiyosaki suggests starting small.
Yeah, baby steps.
You don't need a huge sum of money to begin investing.
Right, it's about building momentum.
He even recommends something as simple as like buying a single share of stock
Yeah, just to get your feet wet.
to get a feel for the market.
Exactly. Dip your toes in.
It's about taking that first step, even if it feels like insignificant.
Yeah, any progress is good progress.
And from there, gradually building your knowledge, experience, and confidence.
And as you explore different investment opportunities,
Now, it's important to acknowledge that Rich Dad, Poor Dad has received its fair share of criticism over the years.
it has, yeah, not everyone agrees with his approach.
What are some of the like main criticisms the book has faced?
Well, some people argue that his advice is oversimplified.
Because it seems like such a popular and influential book.
It is, but it's not without its flaws.
They point out that like achieving financial independence often requires more than just adopting a positive mindset
Right, it's not just about thinking your way to wealth.
and acquiring assets.
Yeah, there are other factors at play.
It's not a magic formula for like instant wealth.
Definitely not. It takes work and effort.
There are external factors, market fluctuations
That expect to challenge it.
that can impact your journey.
Life throws curveballs.
There's also been criticism that like some of Kiyosaki's personal anecdotes and claims about his rich dad are like difficult to verify.
Yeah, some people question the validity of his stories.
Some people question the factual accuracy of like certain parts of the book.
Right, it's not all gospel truth.
So it's important to approach Rich Dad, Poor Dad with like a critical eye.
Yeah, don't take everything at face value.
And remember that it's ultimately a work of like personal development.
Right, it's meant to inspire and motivate.
Not a guaranteed blueprint for financial success.
Yeah, it's a starting point, not a finish line.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have, yeah.
From understanding assets and liabilities to escaping the rat race
Building passive income.
and navigating like the criticisms of Kiyosaki's approach.
Yeah, we've hit a lot of key points.
But before we wrap up,
Okay.
I want to hear your thoughts on like the broader impact of Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking about a lot of Kiyosaki's core concepts. And it's clear that this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, has like sparked countless conversations about money.
It really has.
But what do you think is its lasting legacy?
That's a good question.
Like, has it really shifted the way people think about personal finance?
I think it's hard to deny the impact.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sold millions of copies worldwide,
Yeah.
translated into tons of languages.
Wow.
So, it's had a global reach.
Huge.
And I think its greatest contribution is challenging the status quo, encouraging readers to question that traditional advice.
Right.
Go to school, get a good job, save for retirement.
Right.
He's like, is that really enough?
Yeah.
And that's resonated with a lot of people.
It seems like he's tapped into like this kind of disillusionment
Yeah.
that a lot of people feel with that traditional path.
Especially in today's economy,
Right.
where job security is less certain,
Yeah.
cost of living keeps rising.
And it's harder to get ahead.
Absolutely.
Kiyosaki argues that in today's world,
Yeah.
like relying solely on a traditional job
Mm-hmm.
might not be the most effective way to achieve financial freedom.
Right. Might not be enough.
Instead, he advocates for, developing an entrepreneurial mindset,
Uh-huh.
seeking out opportunities,
Yeah.
creating multiple streams of income,
Right. Diversify your income.
which is, I think, particularly relevant in our current landscape.
Absolutely. It's more important than ever.
He's essentially encouraging people to become financially proactive,
Yeah.
to take control of their own destinies,
Be the master of your own financial ship.
rather than, passively accepting the limitations of a traditional career path.
Right. Don't just settle for what you're given.
And that message has resonated with millions of people worldwide.
It has. It's really struck a chord.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad has empowered so many people
Yeah.
to take charge of their finances, start investing.
Even pursue those entrepreneurial dreams.
It's almost like a call to action,
It is, yeah.
a wake-up call to start thinking differently about money and wealth.
Totally. It's a mindset shift.
So if we had to boil down all of Kiyosaki's ideas into one core message,
Yeah.
what would you say is the most important takeaway from Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
I think it's this. True wealth isn't about how much you earn, but how much you keep, invest, and grow.
Okay.
It's about making your money work for you.
Not the other way around.
Exactly. That's the key.
And that's a message that resonates, I think, regardless of your background,
Yeah.
income level,
And mutual goal.
financial goals.
It's universal.
It's a reminder that financial freedom is attainable for anyone who's willing to, challenge conventional wisdom,
Yeah.
invest in their financial education,
Keep learning.
and take consistent action.
Action is key.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what's one final, thought-provoking question
Sure.
you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Make things.
Something to really ponder.
Okay, how about this? What's one small step you can take today to start applying what we talked about?
Ooh.
Doesn't have to be huge. Could be setting aside some money to invest, reading a chapter in a personal finance book,
Right.
maybe identifying one unnecessary expense you can cut.
Yeah.
The point is, take action, however small.
And keep moving forward.
Exactly.
That's a great challenge to leave our listeners with.
I hope so.
Remember, financial literacy is a journey, not a destination.
It's a lifelong process.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad is just one step along that path.
The good one, though.
Keep learning, keep exploring
And keep striving.
to create a life of financial abundance.
That's the goal.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
It's been a pleasure diving in with you.
Until next time,
Keep those minds curious.
and those wallets growing.
Absolutely.